Hello everyone, Ben Shapiro did a video a while ago after one of the mass shootings addressing the Australian gun laws, and I kind of wanted to debunk a few points that he had in it. So, I'll stick the video in here, you can watch it, and we'll be right back.
In any case, as this controversy unfolds, it's always the same controversy over and over. Democrats claiming Republicans don't care. Republicans claiming, rightly, that Democrats don't know what they're talking about. And again, Democrats don't know what they're talking about. The truth is, even if you talk about full-scale gun confiscation, there are certain things the media will not tell you about the efficacy of full-scale gun confiscation. So, President Obama, when he was talking about mass shootings, he said, and with gun violence generally, and these are two separate things, by the way. Gun violence and mass shootings are actually two separate issues because mass shootings are sporadic. Mass shootings do not happen all that often, even here in the United States. Gun violence, violence of any sort, is relatively common in any society, and these two problems sort of have to be dealt with a little bit separately. And Australia is a perfect example of that. So Australia hasn't had a mass shooting incident since 2002. And in 2002, they passed laws and they confiscated 1 million guns. So they haven't had a mass shooting since then, so Obama thinks that this is a great solution to mass shootings. Why does Obama think about this? Why does President Obama only focus in on the lack of mass shootings in Australia rather than on their murder rate? Right? You would assume that if Obama's logic were correct, there would be a mass gun confiscation, 1/3 of all the guns in Australia confiscated at point of gun by the government. You would imagine that the murder rate would go down significantly, right? The murder rate would drop. Well, there's only one problem. After all of that happened, the murder rate did not go down. The murder rate has gone down extraordinarily mildly. In fact, the murder rate in the United States has gone down more in the same period than it went down in Australia, and the number of guns in the United States has risen dramatically. But President Obama focuses on mass shootings because it's convenient cherry picking of the evidence. The same thing is true in Great Britain. If you look at the murder rate, the truth is that before mass gun confiscations in 1996 in Great Britain, the murder rate was basically the same or lower than it was after the mass gun confiscations. Because the fact is that societies tend to have a basic murder rate, and that murder rate stays the same regardless of the tool that is used. Most people are not killed in mass shootings. Mass shootings are sporadic. So you won't hear any of that evidence. All you will hear about from the left is that if you disagree with them, it must be because you inherently are a bad human being and you could use a little tutelage in being a better.
Okay, so in the video, he was talking about 2002, I think, and that's when the mass shooting happened. No, it happened in 1996. There was addendum, more restrictions placed in 2002, so I think that might be where he's getting mixed up. So the mass shooting happened in 1996. Then within 2 weeks they had legislation. They put out a buyback program. You can see some of the commercials on YouTube for it. They sort of showed the common things that would happen, gun accidents and stuff like that seem to happen. I've only seen two of the ads, but I remember when this happened. The buyback program, from memory, went on for quite a while, and there were certain periods of time, even after, where they would say, okay, for this period we're accepting guns, no questions asked, and stuff like that. There was a bunch of guns destroyed that didn't have to be destroyed, I know that. But yeah, in 2002 there was some more further restrictions added to the act. I've seen people complain about certain things and certain regulations that just are like overdone, admittedly. So you can debate the act, but fair enough. But there are some things in there that I'm willing to say, yeah, that's a bit too much. But there's a lot of things in there that I'm like, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Why, it's a big deal. Yeah, he says over 1 million guns. It was 700,000. So he rounded up. So yeah, there were a lot of guns destroyed, but nowhere near as much as he said. Yeah, and yes, the murder rate did go down. I'm going to post it right here, all the stuff, all of those pictures there, so you can see the fact that the murder rate did go down. Now, he says not significantly, yes, but again, I'll add this caveat to it. it's not directly related to the act. More than likely, I think a lot of new techniques in investigating have put the thought in people's head that no, I'm not going to kill them just because of this. I think the murder rate is generally going down because people are generally getting better. They're not so quick to anger as much. And now, yes, they're one per day per 100,000. Now, when you compare that to America's population and everything, that's still no. There is a vast difference there per capita. Yeah, more people die in America than they do in Australia per capita, no matter what way you put it. And yes, mass shootings happen every day in America. Now, you can debate what a mass shooting is. It's more than the category I'm using is more than one, more than three people or more getting shot. That's the algorithm that I'm using. Yes, I'm going to be. I've seen it reported on more than one news source that there 330,000 people die as a result of firearms in the United States. Now that's the whole lot, but still, yeah, no. Yeah, and those are the main things I wanted to address here because, yes, and he also brings back the well, they had it by, no, you were going to be imprisoned for possibly a pretty long time for violating the act because this was a serious thing that happened. Over 30 people died and nearly 20 people other people were wounded in the Port Arthur Massacre, and this was one guy who just one day just woke up and killed a bunch of people, and yeah, he had to be stopped. And people will bring up conspiracy theories about it, just because mainly because the guy did plead guilty, and yes, the court documents were sealed, but that was due to the fact that people didn't want to drag this out for the victims of the crime if they didn't have to, which they didn't have to. So they didn't want to go through a whole trial process. But because he did plead guilty, he admitted he did it. He hasn't wavered from that. He's still locked in prison to this day. So yeah. So look, I just wanted to I tried to find some definite results from the act. I couldn't. Just doing a quick search, I didn't want to go through it because he didn't directly address it. But I've seen it. I've been watching a couple of videos where people criticise the Australian Firearms agreement that was made after Port Arthur. Yes, I agree that some of the stuff I heard was like, well, okay, that's a bit excessive. But overall, it did a lot of good. Some of the regs are a bit excessive, and I think some states went a bit overboard. Some didn't. Now, I don't know how different it is state for state, but I think judging by the one I heard, which was Victoria's one, yeah, that's a bit too strict. But I gather overall it's pretty much the same. And the video I saw where it was an American group of people were going through it, they had got sent a letter from an Australian who was like, "Come on, like guys, you have no idea." It's still, and he showed like there was a bunch of pieces of paper. I'm like, yeah, and like the bureaucracy is there for a reason. Over 30 people died and there was a mass shooting roughly every year before that. So yeah, these things have to be regulated excessively because people's lives depend on it. And I imagine that there's a couple of pages about where you store it. There's a couple of pages about your health, your physical and mental health, and just like confirming your identity here is ridiculous enough. And look, there is stuff here for other things that I would say, really, we've got to fill out a bunch of paperwork just for this. So to me, it's just a matter of, well, that's the Australian government for you. They want to know everything about you and everything before they give you approval for anything. So yeah, is it excessive? Yeah, it is. And like there was two documents that were showing. They weren't showing them up screen. They were just going through the papers, and I'm like, yeah, that's government for you anywhere in the world. Probably there's huge bureaucracy for it. But yeah, I just wanted to address a couple of those things. He of course talked about how everything was at the barrel of a gun. No, there was a buyback program. And yeah, there was the looming threat of imprisonment. But yeah, they were confiscating guns, and yeah, most of them were handed back. And yeah, look, there's and again, there are categories. You can still get a gun in Australia. It's just you have to fill out forms for it, and you have to have a license for it. You have and all that. You have to be proficient in using it. You have to use it on a regular basis. The one I heard from Victoria, like I said before, 6 times per year. I'm like, yeah. And like, if you're a gun enthusiast, would it be hard to compete 6 times a year, like on 6 weekends, and just be like, well, yeah, there, I've done it. Just do that 6 times per year. It's not that hard. If you're that proficient, I'm assuming you make if you buy a gun, you're going to want to use it regularly, clean it, and all that stuff. Because I'm assuming that carrying a gun, there's no concealed carry here. There's no open carry. Here you have to have it stored and everything, and you're to and from the gun range. Yeah, that's a bit, like, again, a bit excessive if it's locked in your car under a blanket or something, so no one can just look in and go, oh, yeah, bang, 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 bang. I think that's fair enough. But yeah, as long as it's not visibly seen, or it's in some sort of storage area for you that's locked and everything, and it's not seen. If you want to stop up at McDonald's or something on the way home or something, that's fine with me. It's just a thing that you have to deal with the Australian government. I think in some ways there was an overreaction in that respect to the Port Arthur massacre, and that. So look, I'm sympathetic to it. Some Australian gun owners in some respects, but in other respects, I'm like, yeah, that's, you got to remember what's happened, and the result of it is no mass shootings since then, or depending on your category, maybe I think there might have been a couple of like minor ones, like two people may have died in one shooting, and that. Look, there's still going to be people getting killed. There's still going to be robberies and stuff like that because of various other reasons. All we can hope to do is try and reduce these with regulations and stuff, and it's something you can do. So look, guys, just think long and hard about what has to be done. I've already said what I would do what the American Congress and Senate should do is they'd have to do sweeping change, and that's very hard to do there, because yeah, according to Ben Shapiro, that's how it was designed, because you specifically designed to do sweeping change. It can be done, it's just very hard to do. So also just remember, in Australia we did it in less than we had it all done in less than 2 weeks, and it was a Conservative government that did it, by the way, Ben. So it's your people that did this. It wasn't a liberal agenda government. It was a Conservative government that did it. And oh yeah, I know they were called the Liberal Party. That doesn't mean they were. Okay, bye.